The 49ers are 4-2, and yet their season is on the brink of collapse. Hi. Sorry the Niners lost. I thought, well, I picked them to lose the game. But, I feel you. The Niners are now 4-2, and you're hurting. This was a really tough loss, not because they lost one game, but because they lost Fred Warner for the year. So I'm going to talk about Warner, the trade deadline, Jauan Jennings and his grievances, and Mac Jones and his interceptions, and the safeties, who are awful. But first, I want to shout out my sponsor for the week, Mint Mobile. At Mint, their favorite word is no. No contracts, no monthly bills, no overages, no hidden fees, no BS. Ditch overpriced wireless and their jaw-dropping monthly bills, unexpected overages, and hidden fees. Plans start at $15 a month at Mint. Make the switch at mintmobile.com/Cohn. That's mintmobile.com/Cohn. Upfront payment of just $45 required. That's the equivalent of $15 a month. Limited time new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. I don't want to start with Mac Jones. I know you guys all tuned in to hear me talk about Mac. So I'm going to make you wait for that. Because the thing about Niner fans, I don't want to paint you with a broad brush. But after a loss like this, I think I used to be a fan. It feels good to pin it on one person, because that way you could say it doesn't reflect the rest of the team. It just reflects one guy who's not a starter. And I don't look at this game that way. Let's start with Fred Warner. Fred Warner is out for the year. He dislocated his ankle and broke multiple bones there. According to Kyle Shanahan, he's going to have surgery. He's done. And we don't know what he's going to be when he comes back. He'll be like 29. One of the best players I've ever covered, if not the best player I've ever covered. You could see that the Niners never really emotionally recovered from his loss. They always talk about, compartmentalizing these things, and it's part of the game. And most of the time when players go down, it seems like teams can move on. But the Niners seem shell-shocked, especially in the locker room afterward. Trent Williams was bouncing his knee. He looked, I'll post the video later. He looked shocked. Christian McCaffrey looked shocked. And he even said, it's a weird game where you're supposed to just put it behind you and keep playing. I think they had a tough time with that. Brock Purdy plays this game. Mac Jones plays this game. Mac Jones is healthy, hurt. Brock's healthy, hurt. They're going to lose this game because once Fred Warner went down, the Niners defense could stop nothing. Deommodore Lenoir is a good player. Who else is good on this defense? Mykel Williams has his moments. Alfred Collins has his moments. Bryce Huff has his moments. But really, the Bucs could do whatever they wanted. And I'm thinking other teams are going to have success against this. Like, Robert Saleh is a great defensive coordinator, not overrated whatsoever. What he did with the Jets, what he's doing with the Niners, he's going to put them in the best position. But what can he really do without his two best players? Who is the best player on the Niners defense now? It would be Lenoir. Second best? Huff. Third best? I don't know. Maybe a rookie. This Niners team has always been a defense-oriented team when it's good. And they're 4-2 now, and now they're going to have to find a way to get to the Super Bowl and win it with an offense and a kicker, a hell of a kicker, but not much of a defense and not much of a running game. They did score a rushing touchdown, but they still are averaging like 3 yards a carry. It seems bleak right now. It feels like, they always say you are what your record says you are. I don't think the Niners are what their record says they are. It's great that they got those 4 wins and they count. And they're helping the 49ers now that they're so injured. But does this feel like a 4-2 team, or does it feel like a team that's kind of falling apart due to injuries? Feels like a team that's falling apart. It feels like a team that isn't getting healthier. George Kittle coming back, Brock Purdy coming back, but for every one player they get, it seems like they lose 3. And now that they've lost Bosa and Warner, you could lose one or the other, but I don't see how you lose both when you're paying one guy $20 million a year, the other guy $35 million a year, and think that you can just replace them with cheap backups. So the season isn't over, and this team has had remarkable resilience. They fought like hell. They're deep. they have some real, good backups. But you saw what Baker Mayfield did to him today. I mean, Baker's a great quarterback, but there's other quarterbacks they're going to have to face if they're lucky enough to get into the playoffs who could do this stuff, who have better weapons. Are they going to beat the Rams without Fred Warner and Nick Bosa? Are they going to beat the Texans without Fred Warner and Nick Bosa? Are they going to make the playoffs without Nick Bosa and Fred Warner? If the Niners miss the playoffs because of all these injuries, will you give Kyle Shanahan a pass? Is it his fault? Is it not? Hard to say. I'm asking you. But it felt like the Niners lost more than one game today. It felt like they lost their hopes for the Super Bowl. I think last week you were thinking, all right, Bosa's down, but they're going to make a trade. They still have Fred Warner. Salah's doing great. The rookies are stepping up. The backup quarterback's playing really well. Starters coming back. They got 2 starters. So if Matt gets hurt, Brock gets hurt, they're okay. Kittle's coming back. Well, now it's like, that defense isn't going to be anything good this year. It'll be okay at best. They're never going to run the ball well this year. They're not. They're not. And they're not. They're going to keep getting injured, player after player. Other than that, it was a good loss. Shrek says no M fault, no O-line, can't run pass ball. WTF? Brian Berquist says Warner gone is worse than the Purdy Mac situation. Yeah. Ty, the Jedi says draft picks missed, coming back to haunt this team, especially on defense. Neil says Bosa is replaceable, but no one can replace Fred. Solo Ty says, I blame this one on the O-line. Multiple times they had more blockers than rushers, but gave up a sack along with detrimental penalties. The offensive line was no good. I thought Kyle Shanahan got out coached by Todd Bowles, who is a really, really good defensive coach. But it seemed like he kept trapping Kyle Shanahan into these passes that went right to defenders. Maybe it's Mac's fault, or maybe it was Bowles' plays were better than Kyle's plays. I mean, that's what Mac said after the game on the first interception. Said that Bowles' play call was better than the Niners' play call. But we're going to get to that in a minute. Maybe Mac was just making excuses, but maybe he was right. Faithful to the Bay says loss isn't on Mac. O-line sucks and D can't tackle. I didn't think the loss was on Mac, but we'll talk about that in a minute. I think first we got to talk about the trade deadline. I think one reason why this game was so disheartening for the Niners and their fans is that coming into the game, the thought process was, the team isn't that great and they're punching above their weight, but they're weathering the storm of all these injuries and they're going to be okay. Like Bosa's not coming back, but everyone else is coming back. So only guy they've lost for the season. And once Brock and Kittle and Pearsall are all back and these rookies on defense improve a little bit, like this could be a Super Bowl contender given their schedule and the wins they've gotten already and how open the NFC is right now. Then you lose Fred Warner. And it's like, damn, are they still going to be buyers at the trade deadline? Like, are they still a Bradley Chubb away from having a top 10 defense? Or now are the Niners going to look at it and be like, well, it's great that we're 4-2, but we don't feel like a 4-2 team. And maybe trading draft picks for an edge rusher who's older and won't be on the team next year isn't the right move, considering we won't have Fred or Bosa this year. It's rough. All of a sudden, you're looking at a team that might be sellers at the trade deadline or just, not active. Because they need so much now. They don't just need Bradley Chubb. They also need Patrick Willis. And they need Frank Gore, prime Patrick Willis. I don't think those guys are going to come out of retirement for the 40. I could be wrong, but they would need all of that. And with the rate that these players are getting hurt, I don't know that it's necessarily smart to keep trading away future assets to plug holes on this ship that looks like it's sinking, even at 4-2. They could lose to the Falcons next week. They can make Michael Penix look like freaking Baker Mayfield with no Nick Bosa and Fred Warner out there. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Niners do over the next few weeks and if they make a case to be buyers. I was really liking this season, but now it feels like the wind is out of my sails. I'm less hopeful about the 49ers this year. I'm not a fan, but I was bought in to all the narratives, and now I don't know what to do. I mean, it was nice watching them battle and fight, but it felt like ultimately they were going to lose that game, and they did. I did a stream with Tom Walsh a couple of days ago. He predicted Bucks 27, Niners 20. That's essentially what the score was. So put it on Kyle, put it on Mac, put it on the offensive line, the defense. It doesn't matter. They got beat by a better team. That was a better team. All right, let's talk about Mac Jones. I think it's interesting. Maybe it's my fault. You know how Niner fans are. I think a lot of Niner fans just live for proving me wrong, which is easy because I'm wrong like 70% of the time. But it's a whole thing, proving Grant wrong. So I decided that I like Mac Jones better than Brock. That's how I feel. I think Mac is better than Brock at everything except running. Maybe I'm wrong. Like I said, I'm wrong 70% of the time, but that's how I feel. And a lot of people, Niner fans, just want me to be wrong. So when Mac Jones loses today, the takeaway is all Mac's fault, and they'll be better when Brock comes back. And it's one person's fault why they lost. I don't look at it that way. I mean, can we just be fair? I'm not trying to make excuses for one quarterback while I'll be hard on the other. But we saw what Brock looked like injured. Brock isn't a winning quarterback when he's hurt. He'll give you about 17 points, maybe 20, with multiple turnovers. I mean, Mac was hurt, turned the ball over 3 times. The first interception was a miscommunication with Kendrick Bourne. There was an unblocked rusher right in his face. He threw to Bourne, thinking Bourne was going to keep running. Bourne stopped and cut back to the inside. They weren't on the same page. Mac said it's his fault. Okay, it wasn't necessarily a bad decision. It was a bad play and a miscommunication. The second interception was on 4th down. An incomplete pass and an interception on 4th down are the same thing. It's a turnover on downs either way. In fact, the interception's better because the turnover on downs you get at the line of scrimmage, an interception you get, it's like a punt. It's like an arm punt. So was it a bad decision? Not really. I mean, Tonjes was open. Was it a great throw? No. But he's on one leg. He's going against a better team. He got sacked 6 times. He didn't have Kittle, Ricky, Deebo. He's throwing to Kendrick Bourne. Jauan Jennings is injured and awful and miserable. I thought he played his heart out. I was actually impressed with Mac Jones. Maybe that makes me a fan. I don't think I'm a fan of Mac Jones, but he battled. He was injured. He didn't go out there and try to be a hero. He went out there and did the best he could. Is he as good as Baker Mayfield? No. Are the Niners as good as the Bucks? No. Should they have won this game? Did they give this game away? Absolutely not. They may have had a chance if Fred Warner was out there. If they had Fred Warner and Nick Bosa, like last year they came here, I was here. They held the Bucks to what? 20 points? Held the Bucks to 20 points? Okay. They did that with Bosa and Fred. This year, they couldn't hold the Bucks to under 30. And I think holding them to 30 was kind of impressive. So, sure, Mac's the scapegoat, and maybe the team needs to believe that so that they have confidence when Brock Purdy comes back that things are going to be a lot different. But I've seen Mac play injured. I've seen Brock play injured. The Niners weren't going to win this game with an injured quarterback. I think the real takeaway from this is that the Niners don't have a healthy quarterback. Adrian Martinez was healthy. They didn't want to play him. They'd rather play Mac on one leg than Adrian Martinez. When Brock comes back, is he going to be 100% healthy? Maybe. The fact that Mac lost his game, is that going to make the Niners rush Brock Purdy back next week? Is he ready to play? I don't know. Does it matter? I don't know. I think this game's a lot bigger than Mac Purdy or Brock Jones. That's how I feel. Now, I think Mac Purdy would be a lot better of a quarterback than Brock Purdy or Mac Jones. If you could fuse them together, I think they'd be a lot better. A 6'3" version of Brock Purdy who could see over the line and throw the ball down the field and scramble, that's the quarterback I want. Maybe the Niners can Frankenstein this. But until they do, I got questions. I like that Mac Jones has such good timing with Kendrick Bourne because without Ricky Pearsall in there, this offense stinks. I mean, Christian McCaffrey, God love him. He's a tough competitor, but it's 3 yards a carry when you give him the ball. 3. It's hard to move the ball when your running back is giving you, when you're constantly in 2nd and 7. Constantly. I mean, Demarcus Robinson is not what they thought they were getting. I don't know when he's going to shake the rust off, but he's good for a couple drops a game. Jauan Jennings, my God. Now, I want to give him grace because has 5 broken ribs. That's a lot of broken ribs, but he doesn't seem like he wants to be here. This team is hemorrhaging. Yeah, I don't really have much more to say about it than that. I guess it's good that Brock didn't play in this game, so you can feel that, like, you know what? The Niners would have won if they had their starting quarterback. They would have won this game. No, not as good as the Bucs. And if the Niners were to play, I mean, it's a good thing they're facing the Falcons next week because I don't think they could beat the Texans, who they face in 2 weeks. I don't know if they're going to beat the Giants, who they face in 3 weeks. I mean, let's go through the schedule real quick. How many more games are the Niners going to win? Falcons next week. Let's say that's a win. Houston the week after that. That's a loss. Giants the week after that. Ooh, that could be a loss. Rams after that. Loss. That could be 3 straight losses. And they face the Cardinals. Probably a win. Then the Panthers. Probably a win. Browns. Probably a win. Bye week Titans. Probably a win. Colts. I don't know. Man, this schedule sucks. They still could make the playoffs. They still could make the playoffs. But the way the offensive line was playing in this game, giving up 6 sacks, I have a feeling they're going to be going back and forth between quarterbacks all year. I mean, yeah, that's my takeaway. So they're going to need both of these guys. And to start like a civil war of Niner fans between these quarterbacks is silly, I think. You can disagree with me. I could be wrong. But the story of this season is not which quarterback should they choose. Which quarterback is the guy who's going to lead them to the Super Bowl? Man, you need both of them just to make the playoffs. And even if both of them play, you might miss the playoffs because everyone's hurt. And I'm not going to blame the trainer that Fred Warner's ankle got dislocated. I'm not blaming Kyle Shanahan. I don't know. Is it luck? Is it karma? Is it just, I don't know what it is. Is it the football gods? Is the world just a random cold place where things don't make sense and nothing happens for a reason? I don't know. But the Niners have the worst luck. Probably worse than the Chargers. And you know whose fault that is? Mac Jones. Brock Purdy has better luck than Mac Jones. And that's the main reason. Scrambling and luck. Definitely on Brock Purdy's side. Mac Jones seems a little snake bit in the luck department. Although it was lucky that kicker missed that field goal. Let's talk Jauan Jennings because his performance was so interesting. First of all credit to Jauan Jennings for playing in this game. We didn't really know what his issue was. We knew it was a rib issue. We knew it was an ankle issue. Apparently, he has low ankle sprains, high ankle sprains, and 5 broken ribs. 5. How do you play football with 5 broken ribs? How do you not have a collapsed lung with 5 broken ribs? I mean, what a tough guy. Now, that's the good part about Jauan Jennings. The not so good is that his body language is beyond, I'm injured. His body language is, I want to be here. I wanted an extension. I wanted to be here long-term. You didn't want me long-term. So I wanted to trade to a team that wanted me. You wouldn't do that. You gave me these freaking incentives that I'm not going to hit because Kendrick Bourne's outplaying me because I'm injured. And he has this chemistry with the backup quarterback that I don't have because I was out. I hate this. I understand, and I don't really knock Jauan for that. I kind of knock the Niners. Like, they say stuff like, well, we have the leverage, and he has to play out his contract. All right, well, what is that going to look like? It's going to look like this. Him being disgruntled, him not really having his heart into it, him not playing his best, him getting into fights with the coach on the sideline. Is this not Deebo Samuel all over again? It was on the same field. Deebo smacked Tabor Pepper. No, it was Moody. No, it was Tabor. He smacked Tabor Pepper right over there. Then Jauan got in a fight with Kyle right over there. Didn't smack him. But he was arguing. It seems like if you force a player to stay against their will, this is what you get. Charvarius Ward wasn't an asset to the team last year when they forced him to play out his contract. Deebo wasn't really an asset, although team still respected him. You had to account for him, even though he was awful last year. He's good now. And now, like, Jauan is hurting this team. His attitude, all of it. He should have been playing today. I mean, respect for suiting it up, but he hurt them today. He was not good. He had multiple penalties, and he was fighting with the coach. During a 2-minute drill, like, be quiet. Let him focus and talk to him at halftime. Again, I don't really blame Jauan. I think this is a situation the Niners created on their own, and they shouldn't be surprised when professional wide receiver reacts this way. Deebo did last year too. So, what do? I don't know. Another situation, I don't know how you fix it now. They should have traded Jauan. We talked about this in the offseason. The Niners always have like 2 options to choose from. And they always choose the third option. Always. Hey, your choice is trade Jauan or extend Jauan. They're like, no. We have door 3, which is keep Jauan. Don't extend him. Give him like a little token extension and watch him play his little heart out for us because he loves football. Maybe they should learn their lesson. If a guy requests a trade because you won't give him the money he wants and you know you won't give him the money he wants, you know what you say? Bet. You're not going to get to name your place. You might have to go play for the Tennessee Titans, but you know what? Nashville's a fun city. You know? I mean, yeah, country music isn't the greatest, but Jauan's from Tennessee. He might like it over there. Maybe he loves country music. Maybe Jauan Jennings is a line dancing phenomenon. Not for me. I'm from Oakland, but I'm not from Tennessee. You handle this in the offseason. What you don't want is it's week 6. You're 4-1, about to be 4-2. You're having your second loss of the season, and Jauan's flipping out on the sideline, hanging his head when he's not getting the ball. You bring drama on yourself. And when you're winning, no one gives a shit. 4-1, Jauan could be upset. Winning's the best deodorant. You lose one game and all these issues are huge, and you lose Fred Warner in the process. It's like, okay, you got no defense, and you got a really disgruntled wide receiver who you kept because you need him. When really the best thing to do now, since Kendrick Bourne's stepped up and Ricky Pearsall's coming back and Demarcus Robinson's on the team, would be to trade Jauan. But who wants Jauan now with the 5 broken ribs and the multiple ankle injuries? He's your problem. Enjoy it. I'm on Jauan's side here. I probably would do the same stuff I don't know. I'm 37 years old. I'm not necessarily more mature than him. Charvarius Ward did the same thing last year. I respect him. Deebo Samuel did the same thing last year. I mean, it's kind of comes with the territory. You don't have all the leverage. Players have a lot of leverage. And what can they do if they have leverage? Holding, false start, fight. Kane fan 57 says, did Eddie Money get hurt bad enough to not kick a field goal when we were down there on the 4th down? Would have cut into the lead. I asked Kyle Shanahan about that. Like, what went into your decision to not kick a field goal on 4th and 6? And essentially he said, well, we were down 8 and I didn't think we could stop them. Which is honestly a good answer. I'm not going to crush them on that. Like, they kick a field goal there, they're down 5. You know what happens next? They give up a touchdown and lose. They weren't going to win that game, whether they kicked the field goal, whether they scored a touchdown. You know why? Because their defense is cooked. And they were facing a top 5 quarterback without their 2 best defenders. Game over. Again, you could have had healthy Brock in this game. Wouldn't have mattered. Although he's not healthy. In reality, the Niners have one healthy quarterback and they don't want to play him. That's reality. But in fantasy world, they still would have lost. Sorry. And I say that as a full-blown 49ers fan. I love the Niners. Go Niners. I think I am more invested in the 49ers right now than Jauan Jennings is. And Jauan Jennings played through 5 broken ribs to be in this game. Give him credit, too. After the game, he stood at his locker and answered questions. He doesn't always do that. And then when he was done answering questions, did it for about 2 minutes, he walked straight the fuck out of the locker room. Not talking to any teammates, not talking to any PR people. I'm out. Headphones over the ears. Peace. That seems like a guy who doesn't want to be on the team. And I'm guessing he won't be on the team next year. But I think if we've learned a lesson here, and I don't want to be too harsh because they're 4-2, and they got a whole season ahead. If we've learned a lesson here, it's that you don't invite these problems onto your team. As soon as the guy requests a trade, guess what? The answer is yes. Where do you want to go? Doesn't matter. Do you like Cleveland? You don't? Perfect. We think Cleveland likes you. Although I'm not sure that Cleveland likes him or anyone likes him. Dazza says, despite all the injuries and the third-team offense, the Niners were in this game. If someone could have tackled Baker on 3rd and 14, he broke 6 tackles. He's really good. He's really good. I don't know what to tell you. If the Niners had Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, he still might have broke those tackles. I mean, he did that to Nick Bosa last year. Danny D says, Siegel again getting cooked. Why is he on the field? Please put in Lucas. The entire right side of the line is complete dog poop, including Pooney. The right side of the D line couldn't stop the run either. Dazza says, how was Pooney regressed this much? Is it possible that Pooney's playing injured? How about that? He injured his PCL in preseason. They rushed him back out there for week 1. And it looks like he's playing at less than 100%. Is it possible? I mean, we've seen this over and over and over again. Raheem Mostert talked about it. The Niners rush players back from injury. If it's a game they think they need and they feel like you're 75% healthy, they feel you owe it to the organization to get out there. So Jauan Jennings, you're playing. Dominic Pooney, you're playing. And then the Niners get all these injuries. And it's like, oh, man, it's bad luck. Well, maybe you're rushing people back before they're ready. Maybe you have a culture of downplaying injuries. Maybe you treat everyone like they're a freaking offensive lineman. Oh, you broke your hand? Put it in a cast and play. Pooney looks like he's hurt or just terrible. Chris Hooper says this team has grit even with the third string squad. I agree. They have incredible grit, and I appreciate that because last year I feel like they didn't. And they're still 4-2. And they might be 5-2 next week. Josh B says they need to be sellers. We need draft capital. Trade Kittle, BA, even Bosa. Trenches are much needed right now, Grant, and to get younger on offensive. Trade Kittle, BA, even Bosa. Here's the thing. You're not going to trade Bosa or Ayuk at the deadline. They're injured. You could trade Kittle, but he's also injured. Tough one. Sergio G says Fred Warner would have won that game. Baker wouldn't have converted that 3rd down run, and he doesn't complete passes across the middle of the field. You might be 100% right. If they had Fred Warner, maybe they win that game with injured Mac Jones. Maybe they win that game with injured Brock Purdy. But without Fred Warner, I don't know what we really expect from this. How can the defense be good? How can the defense be average without Warner and Bosa? I don't know. I mean, they take up all the salary cap. That's the defense. Kilo TW says, just hold out onto the picks, let the rookies get their reps, and ride the storm out until next season. Joseph for real says, trades unlikely. Saleh head coach audition 100,000 times harder. Well, you can look at it this way. If Saleh is able to put together a good defense without Warner and Bosa, he might even look like even more of head coach material, considering any team he goes to won't have Fred Warner or Nick Bosa. So opportunity for Saleh. The schedule just got difficult, says Sweet Meat Pete. Kilo TW says Giants game has me worried about more injuries, that turf, that D-line, that running back, that quarterback. Kevin Spencer says we need a competent head coach. He hasn't addressed the O-line in almost 10 years. If Mac had time to throw. Something to that. That offensive line is buns. Mindful Naked says, you blocked me on Twitter for making the same fusion suggestion between Trey and Brock. Sad. I did? Man, that sounds so soft to me. I'll unblock everyone I've ever blocked this week. How about that? Or just you, Mindful Naked. Sorry about that. Gavin and Thing says, I may be overreacting, but this season feels over. I don't think it's an overreaction. They're falling apart. The wheels, one wheel is not on. They got three wheels. They're doing three-wheel motion right now. Three-wheel motion. And it looks good, but it's not by design. Josh Wyatt says, this is what a team looks like when nobody on either side of the ball can win a one-on-one matchup. Secondary, D-line, O-line, wide receivers. Who's winning 1v1? Kendrick. Motherfucking Bourne. That's who. That's about it, though. That's why Ricky Pearsall is so important. McCaffrey used to be that guy winning one-on-one. He's not. Not Michael, not Alfred Collins. Bryce Huff sometimes, Lenore. Those are the only ones. Not Demarcus Robinson, not Jennings, although he has 5 broken ribs. David Kindle Jr., the second, says they might actually win if they had a good O-line. Yeah, and they might not have 2 injured quarterbacks. Stephen Draper says, do your job, quality control. You're right. Mike Parcher says, Warner Bosa in Wild SF still win. What? Warner Bosa in, would SF still win this game? They scored 19 points. They didn't have a healthy quarterback. That's why I picked a lot of people picked the Niners to win this game, and I understand why, but the way I was looking at it is, okay, the Bucs have injuries, cool. Their quarterback's healthy. The only healthy quarterback the Niners have is Adrian Martinez. He's not going to play in this game. That's a big difference. And even healthy Mac Jones isn't as good as Baker Mayfield. Even healthy Brock Purdy isn't as good as Baker Mayfield. Dazza says, holding on to the picks would be great if you could actually use them on the offensive line, which they won't. Jay All Day says this was supposed to be a building year, but even with this loss, we've looked pretty good. Are we ahead of schedule for next year? And if so, how far? It's an interesting way to look at it. If this is all about next year, are they ahead of schedule? Well, in certain ways. They got some young defensive linemen who are good. Bryce Huff won't be on this team next year. They're trying to figure out their secondary. They haven't figured it out yet. Mac will be here next year. Brock will be here next year. Maybe they're ahead of schedule for next year. But then again, Christian will be worse next year. Trent will be worse next year. What will Nick Bosa be next year? What will Fred Warner be next year? The core of the team will be worse. Shyla Q says, I blame coaching for Fred's injury since they had Brown on the field who caused the injury. Blended needs to go at this point. He did cause the injury, didn't he? Friendly fire, like when Ken Norton broke Bryant Young's leg. Remember that? I was young when that one happened. Josh B says, time to talk about that O-line, Grant. Is it time to talk about that O-line? I think it's time to talk about the safeties. We'll talk about the O-line in a minute. The Niners they don't know what they're doing at safety. You got Malik Mustafa back this week, and they didn't start him. Instead, they moved Marquise Siegel from strong safety to free safety and moved Jair Brown back to strong safety. Brown was doing so much better at linebacker. I don't understand that move. He's not a good safety. So that was a bad move. And then you moved Siegel to free safety. I actually suggested that throughout the week. So I want to apologize. That was a bad suggestion. He did something that you almost never see. He was playing in the middle of the field. They call this the post. It's designed to take away post routes. They shouldn't even throw the post if the free safety's in the center of the field. They threw it. He wasn't even close. If you can't defend a post route from the post, you're not a free safety. And we know that he can't cover tight ends man-to-man, which means he's not a strong safety. So right now, he is a special teamer at best. And you know who left the locker room before anyone got in there? At least any media people got in there. One of the first guys to leave, Jason Pinnock. And I don't blame him. He's not a big talker anyway, but like, what the fuck? Why did you bench him? Marquise Siegel, the rookie, has been getting roasted weekly. Jason Pinnock has essentially held his own, done a pretty good job, maybe exceeded expectations. He gets benched. I mean, that's roster politics, right? Shouldn't the best player play? Isn't Jason Pinnock outperforming Marquise Siegel? Did keeping Marquise Siegel on the field today help the Niners? Is he getting better by giving up all these catches? Or is he losing confidence and is the Niners defense deteriorating with him on the field? I would go with the second one, and I think it's enough. The starting safeties, Kyle, Robert, if you're watching, should be Jason Pinnock and Malik Mustafa. Simple as that. Can you get the right safeties on the field before the season falls apart? Those are the right safeties. Move Jair Brown back to linebacker because Luke Gifford, my God. Get Nick Martin on the field. Get Luke Gifford off the field. Get Jair Brown down at linebacker or nickel, whatever you want to call it, and have Pinnock and Mustafa as the safeties. You might stop giving up 50-yard touchdowns. What do you say? But even if they get the safeties right, they still don't have Fred Warner and Nick Bosa. So you're just talking about a defense that could go from being awful to less terrible with the safeties. So maybe we should talk about the offensive line. Since there's only so much reshuffling of the defense they can do. And the ultimate end result will be a defense that's mediocre at best. So the offensive line, this is now the most important unit on the team because it's now an offense-driven team. It's a pass-first team. If this team is going anywhere, it's going to be because Brock and or Mac are going to pass the hell out of the ball for the rest of the season. Christian McCaffrey isn't going to all of a sudden start averaging 5 yards a carry. That's not going to happen. Brian Robinson Jr. won't either. Isaac Arendo doesn't seem like he's ever going to get an opportunity, and neither will Jordan James. So this season largely comes down to the offensive line pass protecting, keeping quarterbacks upright. And it does not look like they can do that. So when the Niners talk about all the bad luck they had this season, I think it's fair to point out that they created some of their bad luck by neglecting the offensive line year after year after year, smugly. When people talk about, hey, you really haven't addressed that, it's really important, it's kind of the bedrock of your whole team. I feel like the Niners are kind of like, if you really know ball, if you have a cutting edge understanding of football, you understand that just pouring resources into your offensive line doesn't really guarantee anything. In fact, it really guarantees that you're not going to have an explosive offense because you really haven't invested in weapons, and you're going to be picking in the top 10 over and over again. You're going to have the best offensive line in the league, but you're still going to lose. So why is that? I mean, that's kind of their thing, right? All you really need, you don't need guys who are all pro. You just need guys, solid enough who can start. So heading into the offseason, everyone knew that left guard was a big hole. I mean, you lost your starter, Aaron Banks. Was he good? No, but he's a starter. And the Niners are like, oh, we are so progressive. We are so forward thinking on the offensive line that we don't even need to replace Aaron Banks with a starter. What is a starter? What does that even mean? We're going to go with Ben Bartch, who, yeah, he gets injured a lot, but when he's not injured, he's really good. And that is true. He is good when he's not, but he's injured all the time, including now. And then the backup plan was to spend a 7th-round pick on the position. I mean, isn't that arrogant? They wanted to improve their defensive line. They wanted to improve their run defense. They spent their first 5 picks on it. If you really want to keep your quarterbacks upright, don't you spend a lot of picks on the offensive line? I mean, if you have 3 quarterbacks on your team and you don't really think highly of any of them, and you think they're basically all kind of the same and none of them are getting paid, then yeah, forget the offensive line. Whatever. You're on your own, quarterback, and if you go down, the next guy is just as good, if not better. But if you spend this much money on a starter, I don't see how you don't. I mean, every other team that spent a lot of money on their quarterback also spent a lot of money on their offensive line, or the ones that didn't have injured quarterbacks. Cincinnati, the 49ers. Other teams that spent on their quarterback, Philly, Green Bay, Kansas City, Buffalo. They spent on their offensive line because they don't want Connor Colby protecting the franchise. Do you know how much money these teams how much cash they put into escrow accounts for these quarterbacks to have Connor Colby protecting their cash? Nah, not for me. I wouldn't do it. I'm not saying like fire Kyle. He's 4-2. But if I were the owner after a loss, maybe it's not just one loss, but I'd want to talk to him about, hey man, you convinced us to pay this money for these quarterbacks. You told us that Brock was great. You told us that Mac was great. We believe you. We made the investment. And then you told us not to invest in the offensive line. Well, why was that what you wanted to do, Kyle? That is the one structural thing about the Niners that they have to own. I mean, it's not Kyle Shanahan's fault that Fred Warner got hurt today, but is it his fault that his quarterbacks get hurt so often? Yes and no, kind of, in a way. Is he doing everything he can to keep his quarterbacks healthy? Hardly. Shrek says, send Nick Martin out there. I want to see Nick Martin play football. Sergio G says, there seems to be some confusion with the medical staff about if when a player is healthy enough to return from injury, 4 field goals and 1 TD equals why the Niners lost. Yeah. I feel like, why are they kicking so many field goals and not scoring that many touchdowns? I think they're really missing Deebo Samuel. I think, I'm going to put a little, hold on. Just a sec. All right, I want to hold myself accountable here. I do quality control for the 49ers. They don't pay me, and I'm not in the organization. And I'm pretty sure they don't pay attention to everything I say. So maybe it's not my fault, but I was really adamant last year that Deebo Samuel was a problem and needed to go, and they got rid of him. And I applauded them for doing that. I just have to point out, though, that I think I might have been wrong. Sorry. First of all, I just want to say sorry. But here's the thing with Deebo, even if he's out of shape and unmotivated because the Niners won't give him the extension that he wants, and they know that he knows they're going to trade him, which is what happened, defenses still have to worry about him. And they do. So when the Niners are at the 6-yard line and he goes in, motion before the snap, like he might get an end around or it might be a jet sweep, that makes Christian McCaffrey's life easier. Did you notice that Christian's best years came with Deebo on the field? Like, Christian's always been good, but life was a lot harder for him in Carolina than it was when he came to the Niners and defense had to worry about him and Deebo. Now that Deebo's gone, Christian's not good anymore, at least not productive. 3.1 yards per carry. He's still good, but I bet you'd be averaging more like 4.5 yards per carry if Deebo were running in motion before snaps. When you got rid of Deebo, you got rid of a guy who is an elite decoy, has gravity because people watch him, scores touchdowns, helps your red zone offense, and you replace him with Ricky Pearsall, who's probably better than Deebo when healthy, but Deebo's healthy. Ricky's hurt. And the thing about Ricky, he's explosive. He's got juice. He's hard to cover man-to-man. He scored 0 touchdowns this year. He gives you nothing in the red zone. And what the Niners' problem right now is, it's not their quarterbacks. It's really not even their offensive line. It's their red zone offense. They can't score touchdowns. They have to get to the 1-yard line to punch it in. And I think that's a personnel issue. Like, Kyle Shanahan's creative and he's smart and he's a good coordinator, but for the since 2019, he's been relying on Deebo. And we've seen it for years. When he had Deebo on the field, he looked really creative and his stuff worked. When Deebo would miss time, when he'd miss a game, when he'd miss a drive, everything was harder for Kyle. We're seeing it this year. I am so sorry for giving Kyle the wrong advice here, but I think in retrospect, the move would have been to keep Deebo, not extend him. You want him in that contract year. Keep Deebo, trade Ayuk. Because Ayuk is replaceable. Ricky can do the things Ayuk did. No one can do the things that Deebo did. And now, to me, the guy who's most equipped to replace the Deebo role is Christian. They should move him full-time to slot receiver. He should be going in motion every snap. From one side of the formation to the other. From slot left to slot right. Going ghost motion behind the running back. You ever see a guy doing 3-card Monty? And he takes one of the cards and flashes it in front of your face? That's Christian. Just lining him up in the backfield and say, go run between the tackles, it's not working anymore. Can you stop? It might work if you still had Deebo Samuel on the team, but you don't. So make Christian the new Deebo, the gadget player, the guy who goes in motion, because you know how I feel about putting the fullback in motion. It doesn't scare anyone. No one cares. No one's looking at him. He doesn't matter. Put someone in motion who matters. 23. Was he a good receiver today? What did he do as a receiver? 7 catches for 57 yards. That's not getting it done. Kendrick Bourne and Jake Tonjes are making a bigger impact on this team than Christian McCaffrey. Every time they give the ball to Christian McCaffrey, they're doing the other team a favor. 17 carries for 54 yards, favor. 8 targets for 57 yards, favor. You got to mix in something else. He's just not efficient enough. He's not explosive. He's not productive enough. None of it. I thought Dre Greenlaw, Hufanga, Travarius Ward, Jordan Mason, those were the guys that they gave up that they shouldn't have. But no, it was Deebo. And it's like, it's because of Kyle. We think of Kyle as being this like top offensive mind. But really, on the Niners, the only times he's been that top offensive mind is with Deebo on the field. His offense was pretty bad in 2017 and 2018. It took off in 2019. Why? They drafted him. No one else has anyone like Deebo. You can't prepare for him in practice whatsoever. The first quarter, defensive backs are legitimately shocked by how difficult it is to tackle him. A lot of guys go the whole game without wanting to tackle him. I sincerely apologize for telling Kyle to trade Deebo because Kyle needs Deebo. Deebo apparently doesn't need Kyle, but Kyle needs Deebo. And without Deebo, Kyle is struggling to find ways to score touchdowns. What is his go-to way to score a touchdown in 2025? Get the ball to the 1 yard line and then hope and pray that Christian can just push it in? Pretty much. Entirely too difficult to score touchdowns now. In the past, when he had Deebo, how many times would Kyle call either a run or an end around or a jet sweep or a screen from the 16-yard line from Deebo? He'd make one tackle and score. That's the easiest way to score. It's the easy button. They don't have that anymore. Does that mean that Kyle's a worse coach? I don't know. I think it puts his creativity in perspective. Deebo was his muse on this team. Just like Julio Jones was on the Falcons once upon a time. It was Deebo. Deebo's not what he used to be, but I don't know what Kyle is going to be without Deebo. At least we're seeing it. Does that make me a hypocrite? I just want to be accurate, and I think that's the accurate take. Alfred says, Jair Brown has to go. He broke Fred's ankle. Ken Norton Jr. broke Bryant Young's leg, man. It happens. Friendly fire. Chris Bond says 2 turnovers to 0, 1 missed field goal. That is the 11-point difference. Maybe Niners still lose, but those turnovers led to points. Well, okay, you could have had Alex Smith out there, not throwing the ball, checking it down, throwing it away. You still would have lost. You're going to lose this game. 2 touchdowns to completely wide open receivers, you're going to lose. You're facing a quarterback like that without a pass rush or a middle line, you're going to lose. But you could blame it on, you could say the Niners beat themselves. I don't think the Niners beat themselves in this game. I think they lost to a superior opponent. Is that a hot take? It felt like they beat themselves against Jacksonville. They were at home. Jacksonville's quarterback is Trevor Lawrence, who's okay. He's not bad. He's not Baker. You're on the road facing Baker without Fred Warner or Bosa. You had Fred Warner against Trevor Lawrence. You didn't have Fred Warner against Baker. Guess what? You lost. Mike Partridge says, Mykal Williams, get a sack, son. He did get a sack. How about that? First career one. Daza says, is Garendo still on the team? He is, and I saw him after the game getting food. He seemed hungry. You know what I'm saying? They don't even let him return kicks anymore. What the hell did he do? They loved him last year. They freaking loved Garendo last year. I loved him. I was singing his name here and there, left and right. Now they don't let me. Maybe it's because I was singing. Maybe they don't like me singing. I have a good voice. Zantastic X says oil up. No. David Baker says get a center. A little late. Mike Parks says last decent O-line Harbaugh era. Yeah, he didn't mess around with that. That was a good O-line. Chris Bond says, with this O-line, it's like the Niners sent out Mac Jones to take a beating and die, and then bring back Purdy with other starters. It does kind of feel like they threw him out to the Wolves, and then next week they can say, we got Brock back. But here's the thing. If Brock struggles against the Falcons, what do they do? What do they do? That wouldn't be good. Kajon25 says, use CMC like we use Deebo. Get James in there. Mike Partridge says CMC in the slot. Wide receiver Garendo, running back. I agree with that. Herc Army OSRS says, are we still high on Kosaric? D-line just seems sluggish outside of Bosa. I think Chris Kosaric is the most overrated coach on the team, even more than the head coach, who's doing pretty good this year. Daz says, Deebo was on the team last year, though, and our offense sucked as well as sucking in the red zone. Did it suck this much? Well, Christian was out. That's part of it. I think the combination of Christian and Deebo on the field together was kind of the Niners' special sauce. And just one or the other, that's their identity, was the Christian Deebo duo, two guys who play two positions who defenses have a tough time preparing for because no one has players like that in their scout team. Do they? All right. PrizePicks time. PrizePicks time. Before I get into the picks, I want to look at my lineups and see if I won any. Ooh. Yeah, I did. Christian McCaffrey, less than 3 yards in the first rush attempt. Yeah, he got 3. That's easy. Baker Mayfield, 14 rushing yards. Ooh, almost had it, but I was right. Chris Godwin didn't play. Emeka Egbuka, they let me off the hook because he got hurt. Appreciate you, PrizePicks. And Rachaad White, I thought he would have less than 23 receiving yards. I was wrong. He's on my fantasy team, though. And then this one, I was right on Christian. I was right. No, this one. Right on Christian again. I've been right on Christian all year, man. Keep giving me Christian props. I'll keep nailing him. Christian again with touchdown. Baker with the extra yards. Yup. Tandris, no touchdown. That really upsets me. And then Rachaad White got that wrong twice. Lost that one. I was feeling good about it, too. Ooh, what about this one? Christian McCaffrey? Yup. Christian McCaffrey? Yup. Baker Mayfield? Yup. Emeka Egbuka? Yup. Nope. Mac Jones? Man, I'm good at this. I got $60 on that one. 60. All right, let's make some more PrizePicks. I'm feeling lucky. Feeling good. Okay, Atlanta, Buffalo, Monday night. Then I want to talk to you about a movie called Freaky Tales. Bijan Robinson. Hold on. Passing yards. Penix. Facing the Niners. Short week. 222.5. That's the more or less against Buffalo. Ooh. Say more. Just because I'm a big Penix guy. I didn't say that out loud. I take it back. Josh Allen. 228.5. They're kind of a running team. I'm going to say less. They're going to smack the Falcons and not have to throw very much. Rushing yards, Josh Allen, 33.5. Easy more. Bijan Robinson, 74.5. I don't think so. Not against this team. James Cook, 70.5. Yeah, I think they're going to run the ball. And then receiving yards. Kyle Pitts on the fantasy team. 40. I want you to have 40, so I'm going to go with no. Khalil Shakir, also on the fantasy team. I guess I'll go with that. Okay, those are my picks. Check them out. Bijan, Cook, Allen, twice, Pitts, and Penix. Let's make that 40. Look at how much I win if I get it right. But I'm gonna flex it just to be responsible. 800 if I get them all right. Submit the lineup. Boom. It's that easy. Check it out. I'm in Florida and it's working. Download the app today. It's available in 45 states, including Florida, apparently, and California and Texas. Those are big states. Use promo code Cohn, COHN, play $5 and get $50 instantly in lineups when you use my promo code. Okay, last thing, and then I'm out. On the flight last night, came in late yesterday, stay until Tuesday. I watched, finally, that movie Freaky Tales that came out, last year? And it's about, I don't know what it's about. I'm gonna say that first. If you've watched it, I don't want to give away any spoilers, but I genuinely don't know what the movie was about. And that's kind of why I liked it. It was like, to me, well, one, it was very faithful to Oakland. I'm from Oakland. I'm a fourth generation Oaklander. My great grandma lived in East Oakland and spoke no English, just in an Italian house. I'm an Italian guy and Jewish. So I wanted to see like how much was shot around Oakland. And it was cool to see the different neighborhoods and the different places that I've been, and it was on Skyline and they were at the lake, and I loved all that. And I thought the soundtrack was terrific. I liked the scene at with the battle rap between Too Short and two lady MCs. I think that was at the New Parish. They called it something else, but I think that was the New Parish on San Pablo. I liked all that. It's just that the movie wasn't about anything. It was 4 different stories intertwined by green lasers. It felt like the whoever made the movie was a big fan of 2 movies, Pulp Fiction and Repo Man. So you had like the Pulp Fiction-esque 3 or 4 different stories kind of intertwined together in a pastiche, except Pulp Fiction has like the greatest dialogue ever. And this one, they just had the characters say the word hella a lot to let you know that they're from Oakland. There was not one real memorable line in the whole movie, and I don't like movies with 4 different stories, man. Can you pick a story and stick to it? And what did the 4 stories have in common? That all of them were underdogs and people from Oakland are underdogs. It's a gritty underdog town. And then at the end, you have Sleepy Floyd, a legitimate actual person who played on the Warriors, kills like 25 Nazis with a sword. I don't think he ever did that. And then when the movie's over, he's on a freaking motorcycle driving home to his house on Skyline, which is where I grew up, and he drives over the Bay Bridge to San Francisco as if he's going home to Oakland. Did no one else catch that? That pissed me off. It's like, why is he going to San Francisco? The whole movie was about Oakland and how we're the underdogs and they're not. So, love the movie. Definitely recommend it. 10 out of 10. Great plot, dialogue, all of it. I'm really looking forward to an Oakland movie that is good. It doesn't have to be about like politics and sideshows and historical fiction. It could just be set in Oakland. It's an interesting enough town. Just set it in Oakland. There's been some awful movies set in Oakland. What was that movie called? Blind Spotting? That was the worst movie I've ever seen. Remember that scene where the guy was like, I spent a long time, but was he like robbing someone? Where it's like a home invasion and then he gets caught and he starts battle rapping during the home invasion? Like, dude, no one does that in Oakland. I'm from there. Just saying. I'm yelling. I should be quieter. Freaky Tales, man. It was interesting. You had Too Short in the movie. Marshawn made a little bit of a cameo. Tom Hanks was in the movie. You know, a lot of Oakland heavy hitters. Did you know that Tom Hanks spoke at my brother's graduation? My brother went to Skyline. I went to O'Dowd. Mostly because my brother went to Skyline and had stories that it was, dangerous, which it probably was. I'm tough though. But he went to Skyline and graduated in 94, which I believe was 20 years after Tom Hanks graduated from Skyline. I think 74. So he came back and it was like the height of his freaking fame. He was just about to come out with Forrest Gump. He was like standing up there with like shades on, like cool Tom Hanks. Mid-90s Tom Hanks. You know what I mean? Big Tom Hanks. Sleepless in Seattle Tom Hanks. And he's like, yeah, you should go to the movies. They got a new one coming out called Forrest Gump. They tell me it's pretty good. Talk about a movie that's about nothing. I love Forrest Gump. That movie, what is that movie about? The history of America. That's what it's about. And he was there at every turn in Vietnam, playing for Alabama. That movie's legitimately hilarious. Every time the movie's on TV, I gotta watch that shit. I thought a lot about Jenny. I love his accent in that too. They're like, all right, Tom, so you're from Oakland, okay? We want you to pretend like you're from Alabama and you have a learning disability. Go. It's like, oh God. You did a great job though. What was a better accent? Tom Hanks doing Forrest Gump or Al Pacino doing Scarface? Which one was more believable to you? I thought a lot about Jenny. That's what he did when he was running. I just thought a lot about Jenny. Kilo, that was my spiel. Kilo TW says red zone offense did suck pretty bad last season, but it's because Deebo wasn't getting any touches in the red zone. Even the few games that CMC played might just be a Kyle problem. Yeah. Bill Kennedy says, how did you get your boo-boo on your eye, Scooter? Nah, man. What happens is if I don't drink enough water and I drink too much caffeine, I like break out here. I feel like it's like a liver thing. Like I'm just like not hydrated enough. If I don't have enough water, I break out here. And then what happens is I get stressed and I pick at it and it doesn't go away. So thanks for noticing, first of all, asshole. Just kidding, Bill. But yeah, I've had blemishes on my face for like the last month and it sucks because I'm a very handsome man. People don't realize it, but I'm actually a model on the side. It's true. But the blemishes hurt. It's cutting into my bottom line. Fortunately, people really care what I have to say about football, and my looks aren't super important. Although on my other websites, which I'm not going to mention, people aren't happy about what's happening to my face right now. Still, though, so it's okay. I've been working out. Yeah, that's right. All right, guys. We're an hour in. It's time for me to put up the grades and get the hell out of here before the restaurants close so I can get some dinner in Tampa. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to all of my social media, not just YouTube, all of them. Some pretty good stuff out there. Thanks for watching.